Good morning on this Friday before we have Thanksgiving, or exactly a week from Black Friday. I wanted to come to you today and talk to you about surveillance. I have been telling the prophecy group for many years now that we're under surveillance every time we turn around in this country. Watchdog groups don't seem to be doing a whole lot to stop this. Some states to get stopped, some states continue on and do it. The federal government continues on to do it. Sometimes I think the watchdog groups are part of the process and we just spend money and they don't really do anything. You don't really hear a whole lot sometimes. But let me just tell you, in this country, we're under surveillance with everything we do. Your phone pays attention to where you go and what you got on it. Your tablet pays attention to where you go and what you do on it. There are cameras at stoplights. There are cameras in shopping centers. There are cameras in banks. You have no privacy. You realize that the government can access that by either legal forms or by illegal forms. They can still access these cameras. And so you're under surveillance all the time. Now, in many respects, people argue that that's not really a bad thing. Yeah, okay. And then you get the argument of, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care? Well, I don't want to be on a camera just because. It has nothing to hide. I don't have anything to worry about. Don't put me in a criminal background because I don't want to be on camera with somebody. I don't think I should be watched. Do you like to be watched? Wait till they put it in your bedroom. Do you want to be watched there? Trust me, I know some people would like that and I have a problem with it, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that everything that we do in this country and all over the world, things are watching us and paying attention. Your Kroger card or your Marsh card or whatever grocery store you shop at tracks everything that you buy. And then you get ads in the mail or online that are very similar to the things that you're buying. They're trying to coax you into buying more and pay attention to what you're doing. I've got an article here that was written in this month of November 2019, and I wanted to read it to you. Now, I'm going to read the particular part of this article verbatim because it has to do with China. And I want you to see what's going on in China because, oh, this is America. It will never happen here. Guys, you need to wake up. It's already happening here. It's just slower because we are a free people and they have to indoctrinate us. They can't just push it on us like they do in China. So let me read this article to you. It has to do with what's going on with surveillance in China. Shenzhen is a smart city. It's also a cashless city. And you can't use cash or credit cards, only your smartphone. In this city, it's an artificial intelligence facial recognition software installed to spot and to give tickets to jaywalkers. That's not all. One factory has barely needs for people as they are so automated as the factory only has one inspector. And what a lonely job that must be. That's the only human in the area because there's so many robots going on in there. The Chinese government can peer into any domain payment system they want to. Okay? And they give examples as WeChat and some of these other things that people are getting onto. And Alipay is one of them. As it pleases, to track behavior as part of the plan to rank citizens and measure how good and obedient they are. Shenzhen is the highest technological city in China, and it is the platform for which all Chinese cities will eventually go to. China is using its social credit system to give the citizens previews of how they might live under the tyranny of what is getting ready to happen in China. And this also can be attributed to the Antichrist. That's one reason why I wanted to talk to you about this. This article refers to the Antichrist or the beast multiple times throughout, talking about this is the system that he will use. You have to remember the Bible tells us that there will be no place to run and no place to hide because they'll be always watching. You know, for a long time, people didn't understand how that can happen, but your cell phones watch, your tablet, like I'm using, watches. Your computer pays attention to what you're doing. Now, I realize that the phone is probably the only one that goes with you, but when you step out, anytime you peg a picture, doesn't it tell you add location, or sometimes it automatically adds the location? That's why some people will take the pictures and wait till they get home and upload the pictures. However, a lot of times the picture is tagged where it was taken and you don't understand that. It's sitting in the data information. You can access it, but most of us don't know how to do that. I'm included. You know, I'd have to be shown multiple times by someone who knows how to get into my phone and delete that system. Okay. So what they're saying here is this article continues. All governments all over the world are increasing their control over the daily lives of the citizens. Last year, vast numbers of individuals and businesses were, what this article calls, banned from engaging in normal social or economic activities because they didn't line up with the Chinese government. According to this article, about 17.46 million discredited Chinese citizens were restricted from boarding planes and buying tickets. 5.47 million were restricted from purchasing high-speed train tickets, and over 3.59 million Chinese enterprises were added to the official credit-worthy blacklist. Now that means that you're not going to do business because you don't agree with what we're telling you to do, and you're voicing your opinion or doing something that we consider against the law, and so we blacklisted you. You know, if those companies don't comply with the government, they go out of business eventually. This is an alarming economic restriction, sounds very similar to what the Bible describes as the beast system. You're taking a mark of the beast system, don't forget that. So it's going to be a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, okay? And these surveillance systems are a total loss of privacy. Well, we're already fighting that here in the United States. China tried to make it fun to obey the state in 2015 with the launch of the social media game called Sesame Credit. It gives people a source of how good citizens are and can be. The system grades citizens' obedience to the official party lines by harvesting data from social worknets and purchase history. Okay. So what they're saying there is they're paying attention to your social events, what you do and who you purchase, what you purchase. Extra credit can be done by playing games and videos posted on YouTube that are in favor of the regime. And do not post anything about Tiananmen Square. Why would they be worried about Tiananmen Square still? For most of us, it's barely a memory. For some of us, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Go look up the young man who stood up to the tank in China's Tiananmen Square back in the 80s. You'll remember it then. Okay. The Sesame Credit goes down such as a sharing state responsible and new agencies about to do good economy and allows you to participate, in high scores and earn rewards such as it will allow you to get extra travel papers and make it easier to get loans. Really? To get loans to do what I need to do in my daily life? Okay. So if you work for a company and you're supposed to travel for the company and you post something that's not in favor of the government, you can get your travel suspended. And then what happens with you and that company? Are you able to travel still and keep your job? This is stuff we need to pay attention to because it's working in China and they're doing it to people. The pennies are lower scores, could mean lower internet speeds or restricted jobs, which low scores on persons can hold. Users can lose points for having friends with low trustworthy scores. So now the government's going to tell you who you can be friends with. Because of Joe over here has a lower score than I do, I don't want to be his friend necessarily because maybe he's done something to offend the government. The social media credit, which was due to be fully implemented by the end of 2020, uses technology to monitor and access the behavior of both businesses and individuals using the system for rewards and punishment as incentives. Although the category of offenses, punishments by the published censors, and economic sanctions might vary from province to province today, the goal is to coherently blend nationwide the Behavior Control Board, which all Chinese citizens and businesses will have to comply, tracking scores and receiving appropriate perks for their restrictions or rewards. Now, I'm going to share more about this article down the road, but it is a very interesting article, and I'll tell you the source of it eventually down the road. So Americans, what they're telling you is you say something wrong or you do something wrong, you post something, it may not be wrong to you, but it is wrong according to the government. They're going to lower your ranking score and they're going to make your life difficult for work and loans to buy cars, houses, whatever. Okay. And in part of the article I did not read, there are prison sentences for non-compliance for the citizens. Now, for companies, it's just they simply just go out of business and disappear. So, do you think this kind of a thing can come to America? If you violate some of these, you can't even travel out of your city or your province, whether it's by car or train or plane. And if you violate enough, you can't get on an airplane and go anywhere in the country, let alone anywhere in the world that they allow you to travel. This is also going to apply to foreigners when they come into the country once the complete system is implemented in 2020. Now, they implemented part of this in 2014 and 2015 as well, and it's been running. Some of this has been implemented as far back as 2010 with facial recognition systems and controlling Facebook. In fact, in this country, Facebook was even in the news trying to comply with what China wanted them to comply with, and they didn't want to. So eventually they did. They gave in to China and restrict certain things for the Chinese people to see. Now, Facebook here got in trouble for fake news and all this other stuff, and then they're going to control what goes on and this kind of stuff. This is a fair use channel, even though it's a privately owned, basically. It's their fair use channel, so there are things they can't restrict. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking against Facebook. I'm just telling you the events that are happening, that are coming. And these are just simple examples. You know, you go into a grocery store, the Kroger's here have monitors and they're big screens and they pop on with the motion. And you walk through the hall, you can watch yourself walk through the aisle, up and down. They can see what you're doing. You're a monitor. If you protest that, where are you going to go? You're going to go try to shop someplace else. Kroger is blatant about it. Some other places aren't blatant about it. They have the cameras sitting up there. You have no idea where the cameras are looking. At least in Kroger, you know if they're paying attention to you. Okay? Again, if you have nothing to hide, why are you worried? That's not the issue. I don't need to be on surveillance, but we are. America, you need to wake up. These things are coming to you. And they're slowly being implemented in areas that we just don't pay attention to. Private stores like Kroger and other ones are doing this for their protection. There's so much theft and so many problems they can pay attention. How about the people who fall and then allow these major lawsuits against these companies and no one witnessed it except for the employee who showed up later? Now they've got cameras to pay attention to whether you're a faker or not. Is that good? Definitely good for the company. It's bad for the criminal. But the everyday person who's walking by who's not really paying attention to and trying to do their daily job is on the same camera. I don't know. I don't really like to be filmed, but hey, I don't want to be filmed unless I'm doing it. I have the control over it. Many Americans feel that way. The younger generation doesn't feel that way, but the younger generation is also really embracing a socialistic platform. You remember that a social democrat is just another word for communist. Social democrats, you don't even have a Democrat anymore. They all seem to be social democrats. And they all seem to be following Bernie Sanders. Give it to them free, give it to them free. Put everybody in food stamps, give everybody welfare, do this, do that. Who's paying for that, guys? My generation and the generation that's still working, that would be my parents or grandparents that are still working. And there's a lot of them because they can't afford to retire. But when we're all dead, who's going to pay for it, guys? You're going to be in a socialistic world, and the government's going to tell you exactly what you can do and where you can't do, because that's what's happening in China. It's been going on in Russia since the turn of the 20th century. That's what a communist state is. A social democrat is a communist in hiding. Bernie Sanders, when he ran as a social democrat, and his platform was that he was a communist. He makes no bones about that. Hillary finally ran as a social democrat. She makes no bones about that. It's in plain sight. Okay? A lot of these things are being implemented because people believe that they're good for us and that they'll help us. Because this is one of the dumbest comments I ever heard. It keeps the honest person honest. The honest person isn't going to steal from you. That's all there is to it. Whether there's a camera looking or not, the honest person isn't going to steal from you. The honest person is going to steal to you, even if there's a camera watching. We see that happen all the time with the burglars robbing the banks and the camera's staring right at them. Or the convenience stores and the camera's staring right at them. But what is happening, and to get back to the real subject is that of the surveillance, is the fact that we have technology. We have microchipped clothing. Walmart helped develop that technology, and a few others with it, that stays with us. You can't microwave the chip, it won't be destroyed. You can't slam it, you can't be destroyed. And half the time you can't find the chip that's in your clothes to get rid of it in the first place. Belts, shoes, pants, even underwear is microchipped. It's because that's part of their logging system in the stores. They run across that, and hey, we just sold 5 pairs of jeans to Eric. So now we need to replenish that same size jeans on the shelf. But I paid with my credit or debit card, and so that goes onto there. So Walmart knows exactly how I paid for that item or those items. So does the bank. So does, if I default on my credit card, so does the people who come collecting the bill. And then stores take that information and they sell it to other people who mine through this information. And then you suddenly get all kinds of ads, either on your YouTube channel, through the mail, or any other kind of system that you have going on in your life. The point is, the surveillance system is already here, and we're slowly welcoming it as a protection. We're already seeing people in Seattle get microchipped. In Sweden, they're microchipping everybody as a protection. In this country, because of all the terror attacks on schools, I said this over 10 years ago, before some of these terrorist attacks actually really began in earnest, that they will use the chipping of the system to, oh, your poor children, you'll never have another lost children. Let's microchip the children, because we'll never have another lost child ever again. And we'll microchip the children first. And old farts like me will be the last if we're ever microchipped. But what they do is they'll have a whole 1 or 2 or 3 generations microchipped who won't think anything about it, because they can open the doors with their thumb. They can stand in front of a vault and open it with their eye. They can talk to it like most people do now. I stand appalled when I see these commercials where, Alexa, turn on the water, lock the door on the house, turn on the lights. I don't want to be hot wired like that. I don't want a computer to do that for me. I still enjoy locking the doors and know they're locked. I don't want a computer doing that yet. There's a whole generation of people who are embracing that kind of technology. It really is a good technology if you really think about it, because it does help you. If the house, you walk away and forget to lock your house, I don't know how you could do that, but some people do. You can actually have the house locked if you have the right kind of lock. You know, you can have the Ring. I think the Ring is an awesome idea because it pays attention to everybody that goes on, but it records everything, guys. And someone records it and keeps it. The alarming thing to me about Ring was that the people who are monitoring Ring for Amazon are located in the Ukraine. That really bothered me. Because why isn't it here in the United States? No one can answer that question. We are being monitored. We're being indoctrinated. It's being billed as a good thing. And in many respects, it is a really good thing. But in the respect that this is a system that is being set up for the beast to use, you have to understand where everything is leading. Good or bad, everything is leading to the mark of the beast and to his time frame. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not far from that. We are very close to the battle of Ezekiel 38, Psalm 83. We almost witnessed Isaiah 17 with the destruction of Damascus this week. Once again, Israel attacked Damascus. Syria responded. If Israel hadn't had the whereabouts, we could have seen that prophecy come true almost immediately. Because most of the city is destroyed, but the inner part of the city is functioning like any other city functions without being bothered. There are other prophecies I can look at and tell you about, and I will as these events continue. But just remember, whether it sounds good or not, I'm not telling you not to be a part of it. That's not my business. My business is to tell you what's happening and where we're heading. I'll never tell you don't use Ring. I'll never tell you not to use this product or that product. That is your personal decision. Because, right now, Ring is a good thing. Especially with all the porch bandits we have going on. And other things that you can get. You can have surveillance for your home. My heavens, yes, protect your home. But pay attention to who's paying attention to the storage. There are very good systems out there, and I think Ring is one of them. I'm just not really pleased that they're monitored through the Ukraine, but hey, my job is to tell you that we are heading towards the beast system, and I think we're just one war away from that. And I do believe it would be a war. I believe it would be a war who will make up the everyday person will go, we can't do this again. We need a system that pays attention to this. We need a responsible person in charge. So these things don't happen again. And I think it would be a devastating war for many countries, including the USA. If you read Ezekiel 38 and 39, yes, the United States is not mentioned, but the outer islands are, and we could be one of those outer islands. So just be advised as what's happening is what I want you to say, because it's all good, it's all bad. Remember, there really is no gray. Either on one side or the other. Right now, the technology looks good. Some people would consider it invasive, but if it's your property, you have a right to pay attention to who's coming onto your property. And the police right now can't access it without your permission in this country. So it still stays yours. Just be advised that, have you ever noticed how a bank got robbed and within a few minutes they have the robbers? Because your clothes or your wallet are ratting on you. They walk through those hoops. Some banks don't even have that anymore because now they have the sensors in the doors, up in the woodwork, and on the walls, and pay attention. And they know who walked through, and so you rob them, they know who you are, and they're tracking you, and they can catch you. Police don't admit that yet. Let me tell you, the police don't admit that yet. But if you watch the stories and suddenly the person's caught, and there hasn't been a high-speed chase because the police weren't there in the first place, but now they caught them, it's because their clothes, their wallet, their shoes, all that ratted on them, their credit cards, told the computers, whoop, there's a traffic light. They just went through the traffic light in this car. The cars with the black boxes, were put in through the Obama era. Some of them started in 7 and 6. I'm not blaming him. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about that's when the cars with the black boxes were acknowledged to exist. Okay? So don't someone beat up on me about Obama. I'm not attacking him. I'm saying this is the time period that in his presidency this happened. It's law. Nothing was done wrong. Okay? That's how they're kind of figuring out how accidents happen and who's responsible for things like that. Okay? So and where you travel to, but those black boxes do talk to someone out there. Keep it in mind, folks, this is where we're heading. I'm going to give you more on this the next couple days. I wish everybody an awesome Thanksgiving. And the Advent season now will begin very shortly. Here in my hometown, Black Friday starts all of Christmas. Advent starts. Christmas is 6 days. The time between Thanksgiving and Christmas is 6 days short this year. It's going to be a rapid run to Christmas. I'm going to do a video on Christmas as well, guys, because for the Christian, this is your holiday. And ignore a lot of this nonsense that's going on by the atheists and everything who are the know-it-alls. We'll go through history and we'll talk a little bit about that. God bless you. Pay attention to what you're doing. Be of the knowledge. I'm not telling you not to be involved in these things. I'm just saying be aware of what they do and how they work and who's watching who, because we're all being watched somewhere. God bless in Jesus' name, and we'll talk later.